I always thought my sister Emma and I were close enough to survive anything. We grew up sharing secrets, clothes, and the kind of late-night talks only sisters understand. So when she got engaged, I assumed I'd be right next to her, helping choose the dress, tasting cake samples, calming her nerves, and finally standing by her side on the most important day of her life. Instead, I found out about her wedding the same way distant relatives did, through a Facebook post. A pretty picture of a venue. A caption filled with emojis. And not a single message, call, or invitation for me. At first, I convinced myself it was a mistake. Maybe she forgot to click my name. Maybe she was planning some dramatic, surprise reveal, later. But then the group chat with our cousins lit up. Everyone had their invitation in hand. Everyone but me. I stared at the messages, my stomach tightening as I realized this wasn't an accident. Somehow, my own sister didn't want me at her wedding. I called her immediately, my voice tight but calm. She didn't pick up. I sent a text, a simple, "Hey, did something happen?" She replied hours later with a short message that felt colder than anything she'd ever said to me, "It's better if you don't come. Please respect that." No explanation. No attempt to soften the blow. Just a door slammed shut. I reread that text so many times that the words felt like they were burning themselves into my mind. The worst part wasn't even the exclusion, it was the confusion. What had I done? What had changed? We hadn't argued. We talked regularly. I had congratulated her when she got engaged and even offered to help with planning. She never hinted at any issue. For days, I went over every conversation and every memory, trying to find a clue. But there was nothing, just silence from her and a growing bitterness inside me. My parents, trying to stay neutral, told me maybe Emma had her reasons, and I should give her space. But even they were invited. When my mom gently asked Emma about it, she said, "It's my day. I want it to feel peaceful." Peaceful, as if my presence was chaos. I cried that night, not out of anger but from the kind of hurt that only family can cause. Then, a week before the wedding, everything shifted. I was scrolling through social media when a video popped up on my feed. It was a shaky clip recorded inside a bar. People were laughing, music playing in the background, neon lights flickering. At first, it was just background noise, until the camera panned, and I froze. There, unmistakably, was Emma's fiancé, Daniel. He wasn't just drinking with friends. He was kissing another woman, holding her waist, whispering against her neck, acting like he wasn't engaged to be married in 7 days. The video was posted by some random girl who captioned it, "Men ain't loyal." Underneath it were hundreds of comments, including several tagging people who might know him. Someone recognized Daniel, someone else tagged a friend who went to their university. And suddenly, like wildfire, more clips started surfacing: Daniel drunk, Daniel flirting, Daniel disappearing into bathrooms with strangers. All from the night before. All time-stamped. My heart pounded in my chest. I didn't know what to do. Should I send it to Emma? Would she even believe me? Would she accuse me of trying to ruin her big day out of resentment? I sat with the decision for an hour before finally sending her the link. I kept my message short: "You should see this." She didn't reply, but I knew she saw it because the video's view count kept rising fast. Minutes later, the video disappeared, or rather, Emma had reported it, and so had others. But by then it was too late. It had already gone viral. Mirror accounts had reposted it. Screenshots were everywhere. The internet had already decided Daniel was a walking red flag. 2 hours later, Emma finally called me. Her voice was shaking, but not with anger, with devastation. She could barely speak. She kept asking me if I had known, if I had suspected anything, if this was really him. I told her the truth. I didn't know. I was just as shocked as she was. Then she broke down and confessed the part that shattered me. Daniel never liked me. He thought I was too involved, too close, someone who might interfere. He had convinced her that I was jealous, that I would cause drama, that I would turn the wedding into a scene. He had manipulated her into cutting me out, isolating her so she would depend solely on him. She sobbed harder when she said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't see it until now." In that moment, all my anger melted into something softer. It didn't erase the pain, but it made it understandable. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was being controlled, gaslighted, slowly pushed away from everyone who cared about her. The wedding didn't happen. Instead, Emma spent the week unraveling herself from the man she thought she loved. Our family rallied around her, and she kept telling me she didn't deserve my support after what she did. But she did, because sisters fight, fall apart, and sometimes get lost, but they also come back to each other. And in a strange way, a viral video ended up saving not just her life from a terrible marriage, but our relationship too. The morning after the video went viral, my phone was filled with notifications from people I barely knew. Some were simply asking, "Isn't this your sister's fiancé?" While others sent screenshots of Daniel's face with captions accusing him of cheating. It felt surreal watching strangers piece together the truth faster than my own family had. I knew Emma was seeing all of it too, because she hadn't been online since the video exploded across the internet. Her profile, usually active with wedding updates, had gone silent. That silence said more than any words could. Later that afternoon, my mother called me in a frantic voice. She had just spoken to Emma, who refused to come out of her room. She was crying so loudly my mother could hear her through the door. All the excitement that had filled our household for the past few weeks, dress fittings, makeup trials, guest lists, turned into a dark cloud hovering over everything. Instead of counting down to the happiest day of her life, Emma was counting down the hours she had left to face the truth she desperately didn't want to believe. She finally called me that evening. She sounded exhausted, like she hadn't slept or eaten. She didn't even start with hello. She jumped straight into it, her voice trembling as she said, "I watched the videos." There was a heavy pause, as if speaking the words alone required strength she no longer had. She told me she played the clips over and over, hoping somehow the man in them wouldn't be Daniel. But the more she tried to deny it, the clearer it became. She recognized the shirt he wore, the bracelet on his wrist, even the way he ran his hand through his hair. It was him, her groom, the man she thought she knew. Then she whispered something she had never admitted before, "I should have seen it coming." As she spoke, fragments of their relationship began to surface, things she had brushed off or explained away. Daniel's sudden protectiveness, the way he discouraged her from meeting her friends, how he always claimed he felt uncomfortable when I was around. He would insist she cancel dinner plans, saying he wanted quality time after work. He checked her phone, questioned her messages, and guilt-tripped her if she ever spent time with people other than him. He disguised control as love, jealousy as devotion. She told me that 2 months ago, he had an outburst because she laughed at a joke a male coworker made. He apologized hours later, blaming stress, but that incident was the first crack. Now, looking back, she saw hundreds of red flags, each one waving at her, each one ignored because she desperately wanted the relationship to work. She wanted the fairy tale. She wanted the wedding she had been planning since childhood. But the viral video didn't just show Daniel cheating, it shattered the illusion she had clung to for so long. When she told Daniel she had seen the footage, he didn't apologize. He didn't explain. He didn't even seem surprised. Instead, he blamed her. He accused her of invading his privacy by spying on his night out. He yelled at her for believing internet lies. Then he tried to twist everything, saying she drove him to drink because she was emotionally distant and too attached to her family. That was the moment she finally broke. She realized the man she was about to marry wasn't sorry, he was dangerous in a way she hadn't allowed herself to see. My parents insisted she postpone the wedding, but Emma made a different choice. She canceled it completely. She called the venue, contacted vendors, informed guests, and faced the embarrassment head-on. Some people whispered, others speculated, but she didn't care. The only thing she regretted was not seeing the truth sooner. When she came to see me 2 days later, she looked fragile, like someone who had been carrying a weight too heavy for too long. She hugged me for a long time, and for the first time since childhood, she cried on my shoulder. She apologized again and again for believing the lies Daniel told her about me, about my intentions, about how I would ruin her day. She confessed he had constantly pushed her away from everyone, whispering poison into her ears, making her doubt the people who loved her most. I could feel her guilt pouring out, but I didn't blame her. Manipulators don't show their real face until they slip. Over the following days, Emma slowly rebuilt herself. She deleted every photo of Daniel, blocked him on everything, and returned her engagement ring. She surrounded herself with family, especially our mother, who stayed with her during the darkest moments. We spent long nights talking, reliving moments from our childhood, and rediscovering the bond that had been buried under Daniel's influence. But what struck me the most was how many other women reached out to Emma after the video spread. Dozens sent messages saying they had been in similar situations, blinded by love, manipulated by charm. Some even knew Daniel personally. A few admitted they had gone out with him while he was still dating Emma. One woman wrote a message so heartbreaking that Emma cried reading it. "He made me think I was crazy." Please don't blame yourself. The viral video didn't just ruin a wedding. It exposed a man who had been hurting people quietly for years. It saved my sister from a marriage built on lies. And in a strange, almost poetic way, it restored our relationship, reminding us that family isn't something that fades just because someone tries to break it. Emma is healing now, slowly but surely. She laughs more, sleeps better, and makes plans that don't involve anyone controlling her choices. She tells me she's finally breathing again. And sometimes, when the house is quiet, she says she feels grateful the truth came out the way it did. Because as painful as it was the only thing that freed her. In the end, the video didn't just ruin a wedding, it saved a life. And gave my sister a chance to start over, this time with her eyes wide open. In the weeks after the cancelled wedding, life settled into a strange rhythm that didn't feel like normal life at all. The world had moved on from the viral scandal, but our family was still picking up the pieces of everything Daniel had broken. Emma tried to stay strong, but some days she struggled to even get out of bed. She would sit quietly on the living room couch, staring at nothing, her mind replaying moments she wished she could erase. She kept asking herself how she had missed the signs, how she had allowed someone like Daniel so close, how she had pushed away the people who loved her most. I spent a lot of time with her, partly because she needed it, and partly because I wanted her to feel the bond she thought she had lost. Sometimes she talked, sometimes she cried, sometimes she sat silently while I made tea or scrolled through mindless videos just to fill the quiet. Healing isn't loud, it's the slow, gentle return of breath after weeks of suffocation. One afternoon, she finally opened up about the emotional toll Daniel had taken on her. She confessed that months before the engagement, he had already been chipping away at her self-esteem. He would make small comments disguised as jokes, about her weight, her makeup, the way she dressed. He acted irritated if she disagreed with him, punished her with silence, or walked out of the room if he didn't get his way. She always dismissed it as stress or temporary frustration. What she didn't realize was that he was conditioning her to doubt her own voice. It hurt to hear, because if she had told me earlier, I would have seen exactly what was happening. But manipulators are clever. Daniel didn't isolate her by force. He did it by twisting her love into a weapon against her. He made her feel guilty for having a life outside of him. He made her question her memories. He made her feel responsible for his emotions, as if she could somehow fix him by sacrificing pieces of herself. Every time she apologized to me, I told her the same thing: she wasn't weak. She wasn't foolish. She was in love with someone who used her trust against her. And love, when corrupted by the wrong person, can blind even the strongest hearts. The real turning point came 2 weeks after the cancellation, when one of Daniel's old coworkers reached out to Emma. The message was long, emotional, and full of details Emma had never known. The coworker explained that Daniel had a history of serial manipulation. He had cheated on multiple partners, lied about his background, and even created different versions of himself depending on who he was with. He wasn't merely flawed, he was calculated. Charming when it suited him, cruel when he felt threatened, and always searching for someone he could control. The coworker apologized for not saying anything sooner, but she admitted she thought Emma already knew. She assumed Emma must have seen the real Daniel and accepted him anyway. That message shook Emma deeply. It made her realize the truth wasn't a sudden revelation, it had been there all along, scattered in moments she had chosen not to examine too closely. One evening after reading that message, she asked me something I didn't expect. She said, "Do you think I really loved him, or did I love the version of him I created in my head?" It was the most honest question she had ever asked. I told her she loved the dream of what she hoped he could be. The man Daniel pretended to be was gentle, attentive, supportive, the kind of partner who made her believe in a future built on trust. But the real Daniel was nothing like that. And while it hurts to grieve a dream, it hurts more to stay trapped inside one. Slowly, Emma began reclaiming parts of herself she had forgotten. She visited her old friends. She returned to hobbies she had abandoned. She even started going on long morning walks, something she loved before. Daniel convinced her it was a waste of time. There was something healing about seeing her rediscover joy in small things. Our parents were supportive, though they struggled with their own guilt. My mother felt responsible for not noticing the signs earlier. My father kept saying he should have asked more questions, should have looked deeper. But the truth is, manipulation doesn't just fool one person, it fools everyone who wants to believe the best. Daniel tried contacting Emma a few times, mostly through fake numbers. The messages ranged from apologetic to insulting, from desperate pleas to angry outbursts. Emma blocked every number without replying. The last message he sent said, "You'll regret leaving me." She didn't respond to that either. She simply reported the number and moved on. It was the first time in a long time she chose herself over the fear he had planted in her. Months passed, and life slowly stitched itself back together. Emma began therapy, not because she was broken, but because she wanted to understand the parts of her heart that had allowed someone like Daniel in. She wanted to grow, she wanted to rebuild, and she wanted to make sure she would never again lose her voice in someone else's shadow. One day, she came to my house with a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note that simply said, "Thank you for not giving up on me." It wasn't elaborate, but it meant more than any gift she could have bought. It was her way of acknowledging the journey we had taken together, the pain we survived, and the bond that had only grown stronger. Looking at her now, I don't see the broken girl who canceled her wedding. I see a woman who walked away from a life built on lies, who chose truth over illusion, who fought her way back to herself. The viral video that once felt like a disaster became the very thing that saved her future. And sometimes, in the strangest ways, life destroys what was never meant for us so that we can make room for what is. Emma isn't just healing, she's becoming someone stronger than she ever imagined. And I'm grateful I got to witness her rise.